3-seed Gonzaga rallies past 2-seed UCLA. We should make it official. If those guys are in the tournament, you got to put them in the same region. We'll take double servings of Gonzaga and UCLA. I mean, UCLA lost 2 players. For them to fight like that, incredibly admirable by the Bruins. But there's no reason, really, Gonzaga should be this good. Spokane, Washington, there's no recruits there. Washington State's kind of geographically isolated. They have a tiny gym. They don't have a ton of money. They're in a conference nobody's heard of, right? Western Coast Conference. I mean, they should not be this good. They are right now a more winning program than Kentucky. The third Elite Eight in 4 tournaments. Kentucky hadn't been doing an Elite Eight 4 tournaments ago. So this is all about coaching, commitment, and culture. There's a lot of different ways to win. Kansas State had a bunch of transfers. I got no problem with that at all. That's how they're going to do it. Kentucky, Duke do 5-star recruits. And then there's like Villanova and Gonzaga. And this is what they do. 3- and 4-star recruits, guys stay on the team for years, and they needed them last night. A lot of juniors and seniors who have been in a lot of close games, and that's probably why they won. It's why 8 of the last 11 years the Zags have been at least ranked second in the country and often first. A lot of programs collect talent. That's not what they do here. It is a team. It is community. It's like a small-town family, a small-town marriage. They've all been together for years. They're publicity shy. Kentucky's a Hollywood marriage. It's all on the cover of magazines, but it doesn't last. The Zags may never win a title. I have no idea if they'll ever win a title. If Mark Few lands an Anthony Davis or a Carmelo Anthony, then he will. They've gotten very, very close. But I think it's more impressive than a lot of these big names that have won a single title. I think Mark Few's very much like Andy Reid. All the smart people knew Andy was brilliant. All the smart people knew he just never got a great quarterback, a great enough quarterback to win. The minute Andy Reid got Patrick Mahomes, he now dominates the sport. He was the smartest coach along with Belichick for years and years and years. All the smart people knew it, and all the dopes didn't. Everybody gets that Lincoln Riley's a better coach than Ed Orgeron and Gene Chizik. Jim Harbaugh is better than Ed Orgeron and Gene Chizik. But those guys have titles because in college sports, the Georgias, the LSUs, there's certain regions in the country that are hotbeds for talent, and you can land a lot of it and don't have to be a world-class coach, and you can win. I mean, Kirby Smart is not on the NFL radar. He's a coordinator in the NFL. Lincoln Riley could have 7 jobs next year, maybe 10. He would be the top prospect for virtually every job that was open. The reality is what Gonzaga is doing does not make a lot of sense. But this is why college basketball is really fun. There's a lot of ways to win. You can be a glamour program and get 5-star guys. You can be Kansas State and most of your good players are transfers. You can do the Villanova or Gonzaga way. I do believe that Gonzaga eventually, and they're now starting to get top 4 or 5 players in the country, my guess is they will eventually land a star player, like a real star, and they'll win a title. Jalen Suggs was very good. They get closer, and Chet Holmgren, they get closer and closer. But the reality is, think about Gonzaga. Think about this for a second, is that in the 48 years they had a basketball program pre-Mark Few, they made the tournament twice, just made it. He's never missed one. In the West Coast Conference, this guy is a Harbaugh, a Lincoln Riley, and Andy Reid in Philly. Really knows what he's doing. I think it's such an incredibly redeemable way to win. I've said this for years. It was impossible for me, because I knew Jay Wright, not to root for Villanova. I just loved the way they did it. They would go in, I think it was like the D.C. area. They get tough kids, blue-collar kids. They bring them to Villanova. They play defense. They're coachable. You talk to NBA scouts about Villanova players, they all overachieve. NBA GMs, they may not give you an Anthony Davis, but Villanova guys overachieve. Tough as nails, easy to coach, stayed in the program, super bright. That's just what Villanova does. And I find that style of all the styles, and I love Duke. I love Boeheim at Syracuse, but I find this Villanova-Gonzaga style so redeemable, so much fun, that a small town can do this. You spend all this time, we worry about the big money and the New York teams and this, and yet the Green Bay Packers just keep winning. Gonzaga basketball just keeps winning. Not a shock. Gonzaga borrowed a page from the East Coast version of Gonzaga, Villanova, to win a game against UCLA. An absolute epic March Madness classic from an incredibly Smart, redeemable, head down, sometimes publicity shy. They shouldn't win, they do. And I think they have UConn next. I think that's on the docket next. UConn may be the best team in the tournament. I was texting Mark Few this morning. They may be the very best team in the tournament. They're playing great, so they'll have their hands full. The Jets and Packers have not spoken this past week, according to Adam Schefter. Green Bay wants a first-round pick. I would too, and if I was the Jets, I'd give you my first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't give you a lot after that, but I'd get a first-round pick and maybe something conditional. The Jets are like, we're not giving you a first-round pick. So they made a move to get another second-round pick, but according to Adam Schefter, that has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. They just got a stalemate. So the question this morning we were asking ourselves, what happens if they don't get Aaron Rodgers? And I got to tell you something. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So let's say you start Zach Wilson. So let's look at the quarterbacks the Jets would face this year, and a couple of them twice. Mac Jones twice, Tua twice with his great coach, and Josh Allen twice. It's Mahomes and Herbert and Hurts and Garoppolo, Russell Wilson, now with Sean Payton, Dak, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, who's mad but a great coach. If you start Zach Wilson, that's a 4-win team. That's just what it is. That ain't terrible. Let's be honest. Aaron's not winning a Super Bowl with this team in the AFC. In the last 4 years, his playoff record with the Packers is 2-3, and they have a good O-line, and they have a good run game, and they have a good structure, and they have a good head coach. And the NFC's lousy. And he's 2-3 in 4 years in the playoffs. You think you're going to the AFC and winning? No, he's a Band-Aid. Here's where it gets interesting. You keep your picks, you move off him, you start Zach Wilson. Carolina, Houston, and the Colts should be bad this year, but they're drafting quarterbacks. How many teams next year are going to need a quarterback and be bad? I think Atlanta and the Jets if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come. And there's 2 A++ prospects. If the owner, Woody Johnson, goes to Robert Saleh and their general manager, Joe Douglas, and would promise extend them publicly for another year or two. If I was Saleh and Joe Douglas, I'd be like, I'm done with the headaches. Let's go. Let's not do a 1-year Band-Aid with Aaron. Let's go long term. Let's go into the tank. That's what Atlanta's doing. It makes too much sense to get Lamar Jackson for Atlanta. And what Atlanta is saying is there's better prospects than Lamar Jackson next year. There's 2 of them. And now the Saints have a legit quarterback. Carolina's got Frank Reich and may have a very good young quarterback. How many teams are going to stink in the NFL next year? The Colts in Atlanta and the Jets without Aaron Rodgers would be in a very short list of teams that need a quarterback and aren't good. And if I was Robert Saleh or Joe Douglas and you gave me a 2-year extension and said, listen, it's going to be bad, because it would be bad. I mean, Zach Wilson in the NFC wouldn't win games. In the AFC and in that division with Mike McDaniel and Tua, Josh Allen, Mac Jones with an offensive coordinator, they're not going to win any games. It's not the end of the world. So, the Jets have a right to dig their feet in, and they are. They're like, we're not giving you a first-round pick. And the Packers are like, all right, that's a you problem. We got our quarterback here in the stable. We're good. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think sometimes you get very lucky, and the Jets are very lucky. There's 2 A++ prospects, and you don't know. There's going to be 3 to 4 guys drafted in the first round. You don't know if there's probably going to be next year. There's supposed to be a couple other prospects that are C.J. Stroud-ish, good prospects, not superstars, B+ prospects. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who are we kidding here? It's a 1-year Band-Aid anyway. Nobody knows what you're getting with him. You don't know. The Packers don't know. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.